Greetings, fellow biologists. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to Planet Crafter, Episode 5, The Biolab. There's also 2 more blueprints, so mining speed 3 and living compartment corner, which is kind of just like a cupola. It's a cosmetic, pretty object. Where's the entry stairwell? It's a kind of a honker. There it is. So I'll put it here. So the way this works is ascend, and there will be a screen terminal. And initially, I can send up an asteroids attraction rocket, so it gives a global heat generation bonus, and also attracts uranium asteroids. It costs 2 superalloy, 3 cobalt, and a rocket engine. So I'm going to launch a heat rocket, which would be that. And then there's also the magnetic field protection rocket, which attracts iridium asteroids, gives a blanket generation towards pressure. So this is heat and this is pressure, and heat also gives uranium and pressure also gives iridium. So 3 cobalt, 2 superalloy, and a rocket engine. So the rocket engine itself needs an iridium rod, and the iridium rod needs a ton of iridium, and then it also needs superalloy and uranium. I already have the uranium, I already have the superalloy, I just need the iridium. And before I launch the heat rocket, I will show you the heat numbers. I think it's, what, 87 parts per picokelvin or something. I'll check the numbers, launch the rocket, and then show the numbers again, just so that you have a concept of its how beneficial it is. Do the math. I should have probably made the agility boots. That would have been nice. I'm still rocking the 1s. In certain parts of the map, like this, the jetpack is also pretty nice because it allows you to scale small cliffs pretty easily. So if I wanted to get up here, I wouldn't need to use the ramps. I could just jetpack my way up. Another thing that might be happening, which I'll check, is the ice in this cave to the south could be melting. I forget the temperature it melts at, but I might be reaching that melting point, which gives me access to the sulfuric fields. And I'll give you guys one guess as to what you find in the sulfuric fields, as I think you only need one guess. Yep, starting to melt. The sulfuric fields gives you sulfur, which is a pretty important resource for fertilizer and mutagens. Fertilizer and mutagens is something that you'll need to drive your plants and insects and the like. Mostly insects, but plants require fertilizer. Yoink. Alright, my inventory is pretty full, so I'm going to head back. Also, what did I just unlock? I wasn't paying attention. I don't know. Oh, it was a new message? Thanks. It was like, nothing here looks new. Once you hit, milestones that you're actually not aware of what the milestones are, but once you hit those milestones, you'll get new messages. There aren't too many of them in the game. It's not one of those games where you have to discover the story through like thousands of messages left throughout the game. Your planet specifications. Identification, unnamed. Corporation ownership, unclaimed. Habitability level, null. Sector, it's the old prime. History, unknown. Unnamed planet, so it is unnamed. Or at least, I never knew the name. Maybe it gets named at some point. I'm really bad at reading messages. Planet is located in the Israel Prime Sector, a pre-civilization sector crossed mostly by trade ships to travel between big spaceports. The sector count 842 planets, 1351 or 13,511 stars. I feel like that ratio is really wrong, and is 7 parsecs wide. I think all of those numbers are really, really bad for whatever. The planet has been identified as a possible candidate for future colonization. And Riley, a message from Riley. Hello, I finally managed to locate the system they sent you to. I don't have much time, but I'll try to give you some advice. The success rate of planet crafters is so low because it's nearly an impossible task. You should find space food in your pod and maybe in Rex. You'll be able to grow food yourself when you meet the correct requirements, so try some vegetable seeds. Exploration and improvement are essential. Explore and improve your equipment to increase your chances of survival. I hope this message will reach you. So here's my rocket engine, and then it was 3 cobalt and 2 super alloy, I think. Going off of memory here, so bear with me. It's Planet Red Yoda. I like it. Okay. As promised, I will show you the numbers before I launch. And have you guys vote for the next priority. And I'm adding yet another option, which is launch a rocket. So, my current heat is 104 picokelvin per second. 104.75. But let's just say like 105. That's easy enough. Launch that bad boy. Cheers. Yes. And then we are at 1,050. We bit different. We bit different. As I said, it's a force multiplier. So continually launching rockets without investing in your heat infrastructure will have diminishing returns, obviously, because it's just a force multiplier. But at least for your first rocket, it's pretty insanely powerful. So like if I launched a pressure rocket, I would go from 86 to, 860 instantly. Which is a huge gain for what is really not that expensive. I'm just investing in my own equipment because that's not one of the pulled options. I just do that periodically. So, just made the better agility boots and the better mining speed. I think that's all well, besides a jetpack, that's all I have access to. You guys want me to add plants? Okay. Well, let's take a quick look at how close. So, liquid water, I'm about 75% of the way there. And as I previously mentioned, the what's it called? The algae generator is a really good way to add plant matter. But I don't have access to it just yet because I'm only at nanokelvin, not microkelvin. So I'll add some grass spreaders instead because that's the best I can do it at this juncture. So I have 2 lerma, and I'll add 2 grass spreaders as a result. So I need 4 water. And I'm probably going to move... Well, this is not too inconvenient. There's the 4 water. 2 mag and 2 L. Wow. Okay. Next priority. That was pretty quick. Oh, I just got the Biolab. If you want to see a Biolab, expand the base would be the poll for that. There's not much I'm going to be able to do with the Biolab at present, but, like, it does become... Oh, we're low power. So, don't worry. You don't necessarily have to vote for add power. It's just something I have to do. Luckily, the crafting tables still work when you're out of power. It would be really frustrating if they didn't. So I'm going to just do more nuclear. I'll have to make a super alloy, though. Shoot, and I need silicon and titanium for that. For now, I'm going to get rid of one of the grass spreaders so that terraformation can continue while I work on adding a nuke generator. Because it's going to be smarter to have most stuff running in the meantime. The last rocket I launched was the uranium attractor rocket. So I should also go around the base and collect them. I could be wrong about this game mechanic, but I believe the way it works. Again, don't quote me because I'm not positive. The asteroids from the attracted rocket launches land around your base, or rather around where you're currently standing. So if you're at home, they're going to land near you. But if you're like, if you launch the rocket and then like sprint away from your base, they're going to land inconveniently far away from where you probably want to store the resources. Oh, I'm full. Not more. When you call in those types of asteroids, some of the asteroids that land will have like a uranium core or iridium core that can't be mined but will decay into resources given time. So if I see one of those cores, I'll point them out to you. They're very obvious because they glow brightly, but they're not mineable. So, there's the nuclear generator, which will keep the lights on. It's crazy how much nuclear power I need for, you know, what is essentially just like a few drills and a few, like, growing tubes. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten about the grass spreader. Yeah, drilling with lasers isn't terribly efficient. Yeah, maybe they maybe Sentinel Corp hooked me up with like faulty equipment just to try to get me dead, so they don't have to commute my sentence. Maybe it's a conspiracy like that, right? Okay. That's done. So the next is expand the base. So expanding the base, and we finished the liquid water stage, so the next terraformation stage is lakes. Meaning that it would be really good to get my heat up so I can get the algae, because water will start collecting in low elevation points in the world. So you guys wanted to see the Biolab. I'm going to need osmium for that. So I'll put all my resources away and go Oz hunting. And I did have a new message, yep. Don't worry, I noticed. From Riley, I managed to sneak more informations. I read that you have a greater chance of success if you build your base at an altitude. I'm not sure why for now, because it gets flooded otherwise. And if you manage to heat the planet enough, some of the caves should become accessible when the ice melts. And one last thing you can, end a communication. Well, they clearly didn't want to help me out much. So I'm trying to think of where I want to go for osmium. I'll try this way. But now that the uranium asteroids... Actually, before I even do that, I'm going to collect the uranium. As I'm sure I've demonstrated how necessary it is to have a lot of uranium to keep the power running. Because if you don't collect if you don't do nuclear power, it just requires a lot of resource grind for cobalt and the like to make, and aluminum to make the sufficient solar panels. Because otherwise you're doing it with a lot of solar. And the solar panels are not nearly as much power generation as nuclear power. So it just requires far more of a resource grind in the long run. So anytime you call in one of the heat rockets, definitely take the time to collect the uranium. And it seems like I already have. So I'm not spotting any more glowing green stuff on the horizon. Oh, no, there's some. Sentinel Corp is sitting there chuckling, thinking I don't have enough determination to terraform the entire planet. Yeah, well, they'd be wrong. I'm already at, I mean, I've technically already terraformed it. Obviously not enough for, like, proper life, but we have grasses. That's certainly more than, you know, what you can say about, like, Venus or Mars, as far as we know. I don't think there'd be grasses on either of those planets. Oh, my rocket launch bay got hit, because you can see the uranium just, like, cluttered around it. That's funny. But I cannot stress enough how important it is to collect pretty much all the uranium you can find, as it's, until very late game, it's going to be probably the primary way for you to make power, and it's also scarce. And between being scarce and being the easiest, most effective way of making power, you're going to want a hell of a lot of it. Now, it does require 2 raw uranium to make a rocket, so I highly advise you never to use up all of your raw uranium, because you can use the uranium to call in another heat rocket to generate more uranium, but without that uranium, you won't be able to make the rocket engine itself. So if you run out of uranium, it's kind of annoying, because then you have to go, like, fetch it from God knows where. So don't run yourself out of it. Always keep a little. So the current priority right now is mine osmium. Because the Biolab requires it. So osmium is one of those resources that is that only exists in like 6 or 7 areas on the map, and most of those areas are not accessible until ices start to melt. Meaning beelining for osmium without doing a lot of the terraformation index stuff is probably not going to be very efficient. And I don't actually have memorized what ices melt at what temps. So I could be heading the wrong direction. And I will learn that to be the case in a minute, won't I? I don't need a ton of osmium initially, only just 2 for the Biolab. So I can fill my inventory with a lot of other stuff in the meantime. With the other points of interest. Because there's more wrecks up ahead. So these wrecks have tier 2 solar panels that you can break down, but I'm more interested in the, like, blueprints. And resources that I'm not going to easily be able to find elsewhere. And I'll come back to any boxes that I don't fully loot. I can always come back to. They're not going to disappear or time out or anything like that. I'm just being very picky. Well, I should probably grab that eggplant. Just being very picky about what I grab, because I'm trying not to fill my inventory up. Oh, good. It is melted. So right outside of this cave, I'll stick a little ox box. Little oxygen box. Aluminum, silicon, titanium. Yeah, let's, well, I don't think I'm going to be back here very often, so I'm not going to bother with a beacon. So this cave has iridium, but also, as you can tell by the very fancy blue crystals, has osmium. And sulfur. And this melted at 100 nanokelvin, so it's been melted for a while now. Bioplastics. More iridium rod, that's kind of nice to get up front. I'm going to leave the rest of the seeds there, I don't immediately need it. And you can see there's a second section of cave that melts at 5 microkelvin, which I have not reached yet. Hence it's frozen. But I have a lot of osmium. That will carry me for a while. Could I set up those solar panels here? Yeah, I definitely could. I could break them down and just, like, rebuild them. I just didn't bother to. At this point, I have such a full inventory, it would be annoying to do. But when I had an empty inventory, that would be pretty smart. Just slap them down here, and because they don't require maintenance, they never break. And the return on deconstruction is 100%, so it costs nothing to break them down. Oh, shoot. Bye-bye, iridium. Hello, blueprint. So talking about base design, your biolab, you are probably going to want to be close to, and I know this is going to be a little confusing because I don't have lakes yet, but your biolab should be close to low-lying areas which will eventually be filled up with water, and also close to where you grow food. Just as a design concept. Because your biolab will draw from food and water, as it's called a biolab. I mean, one might have been able to make that assumption. And I think, in my case, I might have it be its own standalone building. A separate building from the initial one I constructed. So I need 3 super alloy, and I only have 1. And instead of grinding through my current resources to make more super alloy, because I only have 1 in this box, I think I'm just going to go up into the Labyrinth Hills and get some super alloy instead. Oh, it's time to make another rod. Or actually, smarter yet is make a dedicated tall box. Once you hit tier 3 heaters, there's not much point in keeping your iridium regular ore sized. I mean, you probably want a few of it, but not too much of it. And don't worry, I all the people that were screaming that the things weren't lined up, I got ya. Okay. Back on task. Swapping out some of the flowers. The higher efficiency for the lower efficiency. Not that, honestly, it makes a lick of difference. It's like tiny, tiny fractions at this point. Get the blueprints. GPS satellite. Big living compartment, which I don't think is all that efficient to build. And an area lamp. The big living compartments is a 2x2, which doesn't have these sort of pillars in the middle, but they cost super alloy to build. So unless you're swimming in super alloy, they're a little expensive. So I'm gonna go find some super alloy. Oh, there's more uranium up here. You know what? Quick audible. I think I want a jetpack. I'm tired of walking. My legs need a break. And I have the iridium rod I just looted. And enough to make another iridium rod. Which, between 2 iridium rods and 4 uranium, I can make rockets. Plus the super alloy that I currently don't own. Yeah. And 1 titanium. There we go. Jetpack. So jetpack is just like a hold spacebar, and you float. You can't go infinitely up. There's a limit, but it allows you to scale what would otherwise be unscalable fairly quickly. Would I use a jetpack in real life? Probably not on a surface of the planet where I'm the only inhabitant and like a broken ankle would kill me. The risk versus reward is not well balanced. But, you know, if I was standing on a little platform in the middle of a lake surrounded by people that could render aid if I hurt myself, I'd be eager to try. Luckily, there's no one to collide with. I'm definitely not going to get in a collision with others. One thing about the jetpack, don't use it when you're jumping. It won't work. So I'll demo that for you. When you jetpack, you kind of just automatically adjust to like a few units, a few Z level. So as you can see, I plummeted there. And that plummet wasn't gravity. That was actually just the fact that jetpack doesn't let you fly. It just lets you hover. So if you hit your jetpack when you're trying to jump the gap, it will like suck you under. Whereas if you just regular jump, you can actually make the jump. Which means if I'm jetpacking around the edges of this cliff, I need to make sure that, like, I don't go a little bit too far over the edge, or I'm just going to get sucked under really quick if I'm using the jetpack. No. I probably have enough. Just, I'm already out here, might as well work until I need to turn back. Although it is getting kind of shady. The day-night cycles are just a little strange, because the solar panels aren't affected, but obviously visibility is, as I'm barely able to make out cliff edge. Also, I set up an aux box here, yeah. So, instead of using the oxygen canister I have, let's pop in here. IRL, I have a little bit of glare on my screen from, like, recording lights. And the glare plus the, how dark the screen is making finding anything very difficult right now. There's also a golden crate in here, but because I can't even see 15 feet ahead of me, I'm not going to be searching for said crate at the moment. Unless I accidentally stumble into it by chance. Your initial building area got flooded. Yes, just disassemble your base and move to higher ground. You're not going to be able to unflood it. Once flooded, stays flooded. The, one of the driving principles of this game is the terraformation numbers only go in one direction. You can't, like, remove oxygen or remove heat or undo anything that you've done to the planet. So, so if you end up, like, flooding something, you just gotta move. Okay, let's do that. Jetpack shortcut! Wouldn't have been able to do that on two feet. Hey, I love trees. Thank you for the resub. And, you know, if I'm really productive... No, never mind. I was going to say, it's in the next 45 minutes, I'm not going to get trees. I would love to, but I don't think it's all that realistic. Welcome. Alright, blueprint is... Shredder machine. So the shredder machine just, like, destroys stuff, which is particularly useful once you start mining. So I was making the Biolab, so let's stay on task. I need to retain 3 superalloy. And then 1 aluminum, and the osmium. Also, it wouldn't hurt to have titanium iron and silicon for a door. Otherwise, I'm going to make the biolab and not even be able to get inside it. So I will put my biolab here. Ish. Once it... Yeah, there we go. Where's the computer? Okay, that'll work. And what I'm planning on doing is adding additional components around the biolab attached to it to expand the building. So the biolab allows you to make bacteria samples using water and algae, bioplastic nuggets with mushrooms, silicon, and water, fertilizer with algae, eggplants, and sulfur, fertilizer tier 2 with fertilizer tier 1, algae, squash, and methane cartridges, explosive powder with sulfur and iridium, and mutagen. And in terms of like the volume of what you're going to make, you're mostly going to be making, initially at least, bacteria samples and fertilizer, which is half of that is algae, a quarter of it is water, and then a lot of it is eggplant. So those are the resources that you're going to be grinding out a lot. So the reason I put this biolab here is as I gain lakes, and here you can see I'm already starting to gain lakes over in the lake region. As I gain lakes, I will have, you know, algae farms. And I literally just unlocked the algae generator, which allows me to, you know, make bacterial samples and fertilizer. So I highly advise that if you're playing, set your biolab up near where your water is. Otherwise, it's, you know, you're going to do a lot more running than you probably want to. So right now, set up the biolab. And all that really means is like adding a few more doors and a little bit of storage, and then also growing my food over there, because almost all the food that you grow is going to be used for the biolab for the most part. Your eggplant, your squash, and your mushrooms, and not for actual eating. You'll eat beans and other stuff too, like honey and the like, but that comes much later. So, if I want to expand the buildings over there, let's go with... Well, I have a lot of iron. I need titanium and some silicon. So what I want to do is just, I might have to change exactly where the biolab's laid out, because some of these zones aren't movable, but just stick attached areas to it. You know what I could do is, I don't love using super alloy, but because the biolab's a 2x2, I could do a super alloy room, the large living compartment attached to it. That would be maybe the only reason I would want to use my super alloy for building space, just because it's a 2x2 full of usable space, and I won't have to add to it, and it will look nice, and it will be symmetrical. So that's what I'll do. Cheers. My nuclear reactors are kind of like in the way now. I'll also move my biolab a little bit more over here. It's not going to be centered. Where's the computer? Yeah, that'll do. So, vote for priority, leaving it up to you. What you want me to work on? Thank you for tuning in to Planet Crafter, which originally streamed live on Twitch August 29th. If you have any feedback or questions for me, please let me know in the comments below. If you would like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams. If you would like to join my online gaming community on Discord, a link can be found in the description of this video or on my website. Thank you so very much for watching, and a special thank you to my Twitch subscribers, Patreon patrons, and viewers like you that support the channel and made it all the way to the credits. Thank you so very much. I hope to catch you in next episode or an upcoming stream of something else. Farewell.